With him dropping this week, do we finally have our first spooky sports movie? Is this movie even spooky at all? Yeah, we'll dive into that and more during this review. Hello Flickering Myth family and welcome to our channel. My name is EJ Marino and I'm so happy you're joining for this video. We have a crazy movie to dive into. We're going to be talking about the latest from Monkey Paw Productions, you know, Jordan Peele's production company. Yes, we are talking about the movie Him. You know, I think Him is going to struggle to find an audience. I'm going to be one of the audience members who quite enjoyed it, but my goodness, walking out of this movie, and I will always remember the person at the moment this dropped, the credits started rolling, they went, "What?" Yeah, look, I like this movie. I definitely don't love this movie. I definitely don't hate this movie, though. It's going to be one of those movies that I think is good, and it just misses that potential to be great. This movie has some major issues, but overall, I do think it is an interesting kind of entry to the sports world. There is not a lot of sports movies that deal with things like this. A little bit spooky, a little bit occult, a little bit strange. But that to me is the sports world. That's the Hollywood world. This is very the neon demon. It's very cult, spooky, weird. What's going on? How do we find the next level of fame? What do we have to do? What do we have to sacrifice to get to that level? These are conversations we've seen in other genres, in other, or at least in other worlds, but we've never really seen it specifically in a sports movie, which I think is really, adds a refreshing tone to this. There's a lot that you can dive into diving into the world of sports. There's a competitiveness that is very sports driven people, from the people who watch it, from the people who play it. You have to be competitive. I'm not a competitive person, so I think there's a toxicity to being overly competitive. That's something they dive into here. You can't bring up toxicity without bringing up toxic masculinity, which this movie dives into amazingly. The performative nature of men, the sometimes straight men being very macho, can feel the gayest they can be. There's sometimes people in this movie do things that I'm like, who is that for? What are you doing? Yeah, there is choices in commentary and the avenues that this movie goes down that really did surprise me, that really started a conversation here, and I think that's what makes this so good. This is one of those conversation starter movies, but taking away a little bit of that, I did find it weird. I did find it strange, maybe a little too strange for its own good, which I think is what's going to push some people away. I think a more straightforward approach could have worked, but I liked it when this movie got weird, occult, when it got strange, when it got gory, when it got really, really twisted. I think it really shines there. I think the direction, I think the writing all really go well when it just goes balls to the wall. When it's not, my goodness, is this one of the most heavy-handed movies, from the imagery to the lines of dialogue. Everything is so spelled out and clearly laid out for you. So when people were confused by what's happening, I'm like, but the movie's been yelling at us what's going to be happening for the first hour. Like, what are we doing here? So I'm flustered by this movie, which I haven't felt in a while. I haven't seen a movie that makes my mind twist like this, where I know I kind of like it, but I also see the flaws, and I also see what's going to happen when this drops, and everyone's going to be like, it's too goddamn weird. And I'm like, but we need more weird movies. We've seen enough normal sports movies where people sacrifice, and the drive and their determination gets them through, even if they have to, you know, like what's the Showgirls thing, where they have to put the stuff under them so they slip to level up, where you have to kind of do dirty things in your industry to get that foot up. We've seen conversations like that before, but we've never seen it done in such a haunting, such a weird way, such a way that I think fits a lot of what people think of the Holly weird, what people think of the twisted Illuminati stuff. I like that this movie touches on that, but it still has enough of its own weird universe stuff that I found myself intrigued throughout. The movie Him follows Cameron Cade. He is played by Tyriq Withers. You may have seen him this year, and I Know What You Did Last Summer. I liked him in that. I liked him in this movie as well. He plays Cameron Cade, who is a young football player trying to find that next way to get into the big fictional sports league here, because the NFL said, oh, no, we are not going to attach our name to this movie. Oh my goodness. But yes, we see Cameron basically have a moment in his life that kind of shifts, that he needs that extra push to get him to where he needs to be. So he gets invited to a training session by the legend of his industry, Isaiah White. Isaiah White is played by Marlon Wayans, who I think is fabulous in this movie. I've been a Wayans Brothers fan since, Don't Be a Menace, since Scary Movie. Come on. Like, these are figures in our pop culture society. If you like movies since the 90s, you know the Wayans. And I really think Marlon shines here. I remember him in Requiem for a Dream. The man can do weird and creepy very well, and he plays it well here. So yeah, we see Cameron basically go to Isaiah's compound, his weird training facility, and he goes through a intense week of training, which this training may involve blood. This training may be involved freaky fans. It may have a weird wife played by Julia Fox that is doing a very Julia Fox-like role. Yeah, this movie definitely, it played out exactly how I thought it would, and I don't mean that in a negative way. Predictable doesn't always mean a negative. You see where this movie's going, and I think it was very obvious, and I think it played well with it. There was no major twists and turns that I didn't see coming, but there was some moments that I was like, oh, you went there. Like, I thought you were going to go there, but you went a little further than where I thought you were going. Surprised. Yeah, so this movie definitely has a straightforward plot. Cameron is trying to find his way up. What does he need to do? What does he need to sacrifice? What wild things does he need to do to get himself to be the GOAT, the greatest of all time? Who does he need to be him? And he figures that out throughout this movie. I really enjoyed the journey that Cameron went on. I think Tyriq is a fabulous actor. He can't really stretch himself too well when sometimes the script is giving him some very on-the-nose dialogue, and that goes for every character here. But I think he's a strong actor, and I just loved this bloody finale he finds himself into. I think this man has a lot of potential. He's great in horror, but I could see him doing well in a traditional romantic comedy. I can see him doing well in a lot of work. So I really think this is a good star-making role for Tyriq. Even if people don't love this movie, I think they're going to walk away appreciating him. And like I said, we have to give a shout out to Marlon Wayans. His physicality, his body looks amazing. His intensity. There were some times where he does a very intense, scary moment, and then it goes boop, and I'm like, oh, slightly undercutting how scary you were here.
Violence is rewarding, so learn to enjoy it. Get your shit together!
But overall, I think this is a well-acted movie. Sometimes the script is letting these actors down, but overall, I do think it is an enjoyable watch. I found myself kind of like gripped and compelled, and then laughing at sometimes, and then shocked and disgusted. I like that this hit a lot of different notes. Again, is it perfect? No, but I do think it's an overall fun experience, really, really brought up by the actors. Justin Tipping is the director of this film, and I will have to say his direction is probably some of the slightly weakest parts of this movie, just by saying I think sometimes he did not trust us as viewers, and maybe, I don't know, listening to the reaction of my audience, maybe he did need to hold his hand, hold our hands a bit, but I found myself going, hey, you don't have to have weird imagery to kind of explain what's going on. I think I would have got what was going on. Oh, now we have characters explaining what that weird imagery meant. All right, this definitely feels like a director and a writing team that did not trust their audience. This also feels a little like a first-time film, just because, again, it's so obvious. Everything is so on the nose, and that isn't always bad, but I found myself just wanting to trust my viewing experience a little bit more. That's the difference between another filmmaker and Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele is not a hand-holding type of filmmaker. From Get Out to Us to Nope, he does not hold your hand. He lets you let loose in his weird world and just says, figure it out on your own. Does that not make sense to you? That's fine. It's going to make sense to somebody else. That's not the direction we have here. That's not the writing we have here. And that's where I slightly just don't love this movie. There is potential here. I think it's a strong idea delivered well by our actors. I like the gore. I like the intensity. I like the weird. Sometimes the spooky imagery was great. It was cool. I understood it. Then sometimes I'm like, oh, this is the 17th spinning football we've seen. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, I get it. There's just slight moments here where I just was a bit let down in the filmmaking department. But yeah, I like the score. I like the soundtrack. My goodness. Hearing Gucci Mane's Lemonade that loudly, great. Tierra Whack's Tiptoe song, amazing. So there are so many positives I have, but I just think there are some heavy negatives that weighed my experience down, and I can know it's going to weigh some other ones down as well. Will him be one of my favorite horror movies of the year? If I'm making a list of 5, this probably won't be on there, but it could make a list of 10. I definitely enjoyed what was here. I definitely think there's some strong elements here that could have just been elevated with a stronger director, but overall, him is a worthwhile experience. If you want to see Marlon Wayans go crazy, if you want to see a new rising star like Tyriq Withers, and if you just want to see a spooky sports movie, this never happens. Like Rocky to, Any Given Sunday to, my goodness, Creed. There's just so many movies. F1 this year. There's just, you can name a sports movie. They've never gone this avenue. So I do think that is refreshing. I do think that makes this at least worth a watch. Will you love it? Who knows? But I want to know your feelings on this. What did you see? If you've seen this movie already, let me know down in the comments below. Make sure you guys share all your thoughts. Make sure you guys give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Flickering Myth for more videos like this. All right, guys, let's talk about him and Marlon Wayans and Jordan Peele Productions and the new rising star that is Tyriq right down below.